It's important, my friends, for us to understand what's actually taking place in the context of this particular parable, if we're going to grasp a learning from it that actually may be intended for us to grasp. You see, for the past several weeks, and even for the next coming weeks, the parables and the stories that we will hear all come from following on the footsteps of Jesus's triumphant return to the city of Jerusalem. And in that context, his return to teaching in the temple. It is, my friends, it is the gospel that we celebrate on Palm Sunday when Jesus comes into the city riding on the donkey. All of these stories are taking place immediately after that in the temple. The temple authorities weren't happy. They weren't happy with the display of honor that had been given to Jesus on his return. There was a little bit of jealousy, a bit of wounded pride, and even a bit of fear, because maybe they wouldn't receive the same respect that they had previously. The parables all challenge the ways that the temple leaders have been leading and have been teaching the others, and that upsets them deeply. And Jesus is revealing to everyone gathered a new understanding of God, an understanding that doesn't quite fit their understandings. Jesus introduces a different paradigm, if you will, and a paradigm which actually shakes them to the bone. An all merciful and all forgiving and all loving God who doesn't demand temple payments, or who doesn't demand public shaming, or who doesn't overtly burden their returns with retribution. Those kind of things just didn't live up to what the temple authorities thought God looked like or operated like. The temple authorities had laid that out quite specifically. If you were to return, you had to pay the temple tax. You had to do these things. You had to be readmitted to the company of the saints. And maybe that's still some of the same challenges that we face today. It is hard to believe in and to understand a God who is so radically lavish with grace that there isn't a cost. We live in a world, my friends, we live in a world, and I even often operate this, a world that wants retribution, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. But of course, we would never allow ourselves to say it with such stark honesty. So we couch it in softer and more palatable terms, if you will. We want and we get retribution. Make no mistake about it. We create jails and prisons and courts of law that then in turn develop grids systems like here's the crime and here's the time. Here's the crime, here's the time, as if sin or fault or failing can be squeezed into a box and solved by delving out a simple penance. Is there really a difference between 5 Our Fathers and 5 Hail Marys and a 5-year sentence? It kind of seems eerily similar, doesn't it? By the way, many of you probably know, but the word penitentiary comes directly from the word penance. How contrary that all that seems to the words of Jesus when he says, I tell you, prostitutes and tax collectors are entering the kingdom of God before you. You know, my friends, last week I had the opportunity to do a webinar with Commissioner Paul Schnell and Archbishop Bernard Hebda and 2 other chaplain companions. And in that gathering, I was asked to talk about ministry in the context of prison. I shared with them an insight which I've recently come to understand in my own life. I said, I came to prison 10 years ago thinking that I would be sharing my love of God with the men who were stuck inside those walls. Now I've come to realize that I actually came to prison and met God. Many of the men that I walk and work with every day, they understand intimately their own weaknesses and their faults and their failings. And in their humility, my friends, I see the face of God shining forth every day. They are more than willing to let us and others know that they're not bad people. They did some very bad things, made some extremely bad choices, and caused some extreme amounts of pain for others and for themselves. And in their humility, many of them have discovered that God still loves them, even if others don't, or can't, or won't. I wonder, as I reflected on this gospel, I wondered, who in our lives have we decided is beyond God's love? Who have we decided is beyond God's love? Love in dreams is easy, Dostoevsky wrote. Love in dreams is easy, but the reality of it is a dreadful assault, not on our deepest longings, but on those tawdry delusions that pose as solutions to them. Love in dreams is easy.